Hi, everyone. My name is Gregory Q. Jenkins. I am the founder and CEO of Quintasia Studios, and this is the Quintasia Podcast. Now, in our episode today, I want to focus on something. It's been a message that I've had that I wanted to share. It's definitely a life lesson that I learned, and it really came to fruition in the past year, where I really put this practice, I put this belief into practice, and I have to say it has thus far worked out spectacularly. So I want to talk about this life lesson and share it with you. So this podcast is for anyone. If you are trying to negotiate that big deal, or you're trying to land a sponsor, or you're trying to get, a raise, or anything having to do with your self-worth, attaining your goals, and, asking for what you believe that you are worth and what you are due. Here's the lesson that you all need to hear, but particularly I find women and people of color, I find that we make this mistake far too many times. And that mistake is, you need to know you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to slow it down. And don't worry, that's what this whole podcast is about. I'm gonna make it plain, as Gil Noble used to say, for those of you of a certain age and remember Mr. Noble. Don't worry, I'm gonna make it plain. I'm gonna break it down. But you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. You have to realize that in business, right, when you are trying to get paid, the person who's on the opposite side of the table from you is trying to get the most out of you for the least amount of money. They are not your advocate. They are not going to say, you know what, I'm going to give George $1 million because, by golly, he deserves it. He's a good guy, and we should just give him the money. You're delusional, okay? That does not happen. They're thinking, hey, we like George. Do you think he'll go for this amount? And they want that amount to be as small as possible. Not that they're necessarily trying to cheat you, although sometimes the people sitting across from you are trying to cheat you, in which case then you need to ask yourself, why are you sitting at a table with these people? But we'll get to that later on in our talk today. But sometimes it's not because they want to cheat you. It's because, hey, they have certain constraints. They're trying to get, they have a whole priority, an agenda of what they're trying to get done, a budget, and you need to fit into that budget. But that's the thing. You don't need to fit into that budget. You need to be able to state what your needs are, and they can either meet those needs or they cannot. If they cannot, there's no harm. There's no foul. There should be no bad feelings. Where it's business. It's like, hey, I'm sorry, things didn't work out this time. Maybe next time. Of course, next time you're going to be even more expensive because you're going to continue to learn, continue to grow, and continue to be more valuable. But this is such an important concept. I really want to hone in on this. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. if you're going to come to that table and you think that the other side is just going to recognize your worth and just give it to you because you're a sweetheart, you're an angel, you're a good person, you're salt of the earth, you are going to be disappointed every single time. You have to be willing to say, hey, this is what I need. This is what I'm looking for. So my first point that I want to make to you in how do you get what you're looking for is you need to decide what you want before you get to that negotiating table. Do not sit at a table and then figure out what it is you want. Let me just give you a little tidbit for those who may be negotiating with me in the future. Definitely do not do that with me, because nothing will piss me off more is when I sit down with you, I want you to know what you want. And I'm going to figure out what it is you want. And then I'm going to figure out if I'm willing to pay it. That's the way that's going to work. It's not going to be me having to ask you lots of life questioning and you finding yourself no. Come to the table, know what you want. Don't be delusional, but at the same time, don't sell yourself short. You should know when you're going to the table what you're going to ask for, and okay, compared to other people in the market like me, am I above market rate? Am I below market rate? What is it? If you're above market rate, you need to be able to justify why you want more than what the market rate. And don't take offense at it. It's like, oh, well, isn't it obvious that I am that good and that I am that excellent that you should be willing to pay me this? And if you're not, then you obviously are a moron. No, if you take that tack, you're probably not going to be successful in your negotiation. No, state your case. It's not, it doesn't have to be adversarial. You just state your case. It's that, yes, most people in the market, they have X amount of years of experience in this kind of a background, but here's what I bring to the table. This is greater than what the average person in the market brings to it. And therefore, that's why I'm looking for a higher rate than the market bears for the services or the position that you're offering. That's all. Just be prepared to justify why it is you think that you should get that amount. It's nothing more complicated than that. Now, I know a lot of people have, particularly if you go into the world of consulting and you're trying to figure out, well, how much should I charge? What is reasonable? What can I do? And again, and this goes not just for consulting, but pretty much anything. If you're an actor, any service base, or even if you're if you're a plumber or whatever, and you're not quite sure what you should charge, again, do a little research, see what the market is charging. And like I said, so now let's say, okay, I have a job that doesn't exist. This is the first. This is my position doesn't exist anywhere. The service that I'm offering is one of a kind, and there's nothing to compare it to. Then, and this method may not be perfect, but it's at least a starting ground. Look at the skill sets that you have, and then find positions that have those same skill sets, and see what is the range of salary or consulting fees that people with those skill sets are able to earn. And that's your starting point. And then if you're higher, be able to justify why you think you should be higher. And if you're lower, also explain why you're lower. Not because you're less experienced or what, but explain the differential. Because believe it or not, if you're substantially lower, that's also a warning sign to me as well, because I want to make sure that you have the same skill sets that I expect for a person in the market to have. So keep in mind those two things. But again, you have to go in there with the mindset that you are your advocate. You are the person responsible for getting what you want. Do not expect your employer, your client, your spouse, your partner, your friend, or whatever it is, because this doesn't just apply in business, it really applies across your life. You have to be the advocate for what you want. Now, you don't want to be the kind of advocate where it's all about you. You do want to consider the win-win scenario. You do want to, whoever it is that you're negotiating with, you do want to let them know, well, here's what you get if you give me what I want. Um, you have to be willing to make that negotiation as well and make that point. Another thing that you have to be able to do, and I find this so very, very important, is that you can't, you have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, it is like blood in the water. A lack of confidence is like blood in the water. The people you're negotiating across the table from, they will smell that and they will know you are ripe for the picking. It's like, we can offer this person a fraction of what they're at, or a fraction of what they're asking for. We will undermine their confidence and they will gladly take it, just being happy to come away with anything. If you give off that vibe, people will jump on it. I guarantee you. Um, you have to know that you cannot be afraid to speak up for yourself. The other thing is, you have to be willing to walk if you don't get what you're asking for. And that's fine. It's, you have to go in there, you present your case, you let the other person make a decision on whether or not they're going to give you what you want. If they don't give you what you want, then you have to be prepared to walk. It is really that simple. And know that sometimes that's going to happen. Sometimes the answer is going to be no. It is not a reflection on you. It's not a reflection on your abilities. So long as you're honest with yourself about where you are in comparison to other people out there trying to do something similar or have similar skill sets to you, then once you're solid in that knowledge that, yeah, I think I've fairly priced what I'm looking for, then if someone says, then they don't understand, you know, what it is that I bring to the table. I want to talk to someone who does, and leave it at that. But you definitely have to be willing to walk if you don't get what you want. Don't waste your time. Once you've advocated for yourself, you made your case, you've made a cogent argument for why you should get the things that you're asking for, and the other side is not budging. Okay, we're done. You're talking to a brick wall. Now you need to go and talk to somebody else who might be willing to give you that. And then the other thing that I wanted to add to what you should be thinking about as you're negotiating for yourself is, you need to not, once you get what you're looking for, once you get to a yes, don't renege. Don't then all of a sudden say, "Oh, I should have asked for more. That was too easy," or whatever. When you get what you're looking for, you're done. Okay? You're done. You've got it. Congratulations. Good job. You've done it. You can feel good. Don't get greedy. You do not want to, under any circumstances, burn your bridges. Even if this negotiation does not conclude the way you want it to, it does not mean that another opportunity could present itself sometime in the future. So don't mess it up by once you get what you want, then you say, "Oh, you know what? I just thought of something else." Because again, if nothing else, for those of you who might be dealing with me in the future, never do that with me. I'm just warning you right now, because I will get up and walk if you do that, because then that tells me you're not a serious person. And I want to be negotiating with serious people who've thought about what they want. They've advocated for what, their position. And either I said yes or I said no, and I agreed to it. But once I agree to that contract, I'm expecting you to hold up your end. There's no, oh, I'm going to agree to this now, but later, because I had somebody do that. I'm going to agree to this now, but later I'm going to come back and try to renegotiate. I think that is very poor business. Once you agree to a deal, you should honor your word, because people, if your word means nothing, you mean nothing. Okay. I want you to think on that for a minute. If your word means nothing, then you mean nothing. So once you make a deal, you should honor it. If you made a poor deal, that's not the person across the table's problem. That's your fault. You made a poor deal. Now, this is assuming there was no fraud, there was no misstatement of facts from the other party. This is assuming everything was done in good faith. Then if you didn't get what you want, that's your fault. Now, if someone lied to you, that's a different podcast altogether. That's not what we're talking about here. We're assuming that all actors are acting in good faith. So don't, once you get what you want, then decide, oh, I'm going to hold this deal hostage to get even more. That's the fastest way to, burn your bridges and lose what could be a valuable business relationship. But it really is. So, I hear people, they talk about, and for those of you in the corporate world, I'm sure you see this, you see certain people, um, you know, I don't want to say that they're loud, but let's just say in meetings, they're the ones that are speaking up. They voice their opinions. They're not shy about, when promotional opportunities come available, they're not shy about saying that they are interested. And, and for some of us, it might seem like, ooh, that person is so garish. It's just unseemly to be campaigning for that thing so openly. But I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, that's the person who's going to get it. Sitting in the back and just quietly doing your thing and say, hey, I'm good, and people should see that I'm good. Again, if that's your tact in life, I think you are going to be sadly disappointed at your results. You really do have to learn how to advocate. And for us, for people of color, that it's going to be a fine line, because when you're advocating for yourself, there are some people who will accuse you of being uppity. There will some people who will accuse you of not being humble. Because the Lord knows there are people out in this world who like their Negroes humble. That's all I'm going to say there, and I'm going to move on. But I'll say it one more time. There are people out there who like their Negroes humble. But anyway, you have to be comfortable with advocating for yourself, but doing it in a way that, it's not out of arrogance. It's out of, hey, I've sat down, I've crunched the numbers. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's what's going to make my life better. And that's what I'm going to go for. And I really won't settle for anything less than what I'm, the things that I'm looking for. And I think if you do those things, I think you will find you will get what you want. But you can't be afraid to advocate for what you want. And if you get accused of, especially women, a guy can, ask for what he wants all day. But as soon as a woman does it, oh my God, wow, it's your turn. And like, it's not about waiting your turn. It's about, hey, I've developed a certain amount of skill. I would like to achieve a certain level of financial success, and I'm advocating for that. And, you guys just have to determine, hey, if you want to keep me, here's the cost to keep me. Or if you want to use my services, here's the cost. And it's a yes or no decision. It's not, I don't, once I determine what I want, I'm not negotiating on what I want, and you have to, that's the other thing you need to do is you do have to decide what is important to you. Now, you might come up with a list, but in that list, maybe a few of those things are nice to haves, but if you got everything else, it's still a win for you, right? Don't sweat the small stuff. If you get everything else, if you get what's most important to you, take the deal and be happy. But if you don't get what you want, then you have to say this deal is not meeting my needs, and you have to be willing to walk. So that's really the message that I wanted to, give to you today. I hope that this finds you well. I hope that these words, this is what I have learned in my life, and I've put it to use. And I can tell you, once I started doing that, I started to achieve the results that I wanted to achieve. I couldn't blame anybody else for not getting it, because if I didn't advocate for what I want, people are not mind readers. I have to tell them what I want, and then they have to decide, will they give it to me? And I think you will find, in all situations where that's true, where you're negotiating with another human being, advocate for what you want. Again, don't be unreasonable. But if you do all the steps that we just talked about, you're not being unreasonable. You're just asking for what you believe you are worth. And if there's a difference of opinion, you leave it there, no hard feelings. And like I said, you find someone who is willing to give you what you want. So that's my message for today. I've been wanting to kind of make this one. I know this is a shorter podcast, but I really wanted to share this life lesson because I think it is a powerful lesson. So remember, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. I'm Gregory Q. Jenkins. Thank you for listening. Bye until next time.